Things you can do and things you can't do. It's an important list to have if you're a targeted individual. There are things that you can take care of. There are things that you know or something that you need to deal with. And there's other things that there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And, having those in order to where they don't become something that you are fixated on or are troubled by is important. Targeted individuals are in a situation where, they can't make decisions for other people. They cannot control their situation. If people are attacking you, if they are messing with you at work, if they are assaulting you with street theater or gaslighting, if they are harassing you at work, if they're doing all these things, what are you going to do to stop it? That's always the reciprocal conversation or thought process that is, tempting to get into, because it's part of the strategy. It's that tension. It's that conundrum that you can't do nothing about it. And it's a trick. Make no mistake. There's probably people in your circle that are involved in your harassment. I know I am aware of several people. One of the things that they like to do is, gaslight you. They like to pretend they don't know what's going on. It's like the elephant in the middle of the room. It just depends on how awkward it is. If there's some of you out there who have family members that are involved in your ordeal, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because, it's like a little game that you're playing, right? You have to pretend that everything is normal, that nothing is going on, because, we've talked about that before. It's not believable. And you're going to get labeled as crazy, mentally ill or something. If you bring it up, you have to basically, play this little game to where, you're acting within the range of normality and you are acknowledging things, but at the same time, you can't really explain them or uncover, the true situation. For example, you may have somebody do something to your property, and that it's part of a gang stalking assault or method. But you have to pretend, I don't know what it was. By gosh. I don't know. That's just weird how people do what they do. I just don't know. And you gotta kind of, and, these people are gonna, they're gonna bring it up. Oh, gee, what's up with that? Or they're gonna accuse you of, making enemies or something. I've had that happen to me, where, you're out there, selling drugs or whatever. I think I made that in a video before. I got accused of that. I had, family members calling the police and having them come over for welfare checks. I had a landlord in on it, and she was having people in the neighborhood, make false claims that I was shooting guns on the property and selling drugs, literally. No, I didn't have any guns. I didn't have any drugs. I wasn't doing anything. But I had to deal with the cops, right? And I had to, figure out how to explain what was going on. And then, of course, the next time I talked to, family, oh, no, I was worried. I thought maybe something was wrong and decided to send the cops over to your house at midnight, And it had nothing to do with anything. And you got to pretend. You got to pretend it was just something normal, because at that point, if you start throwing around accusations and talk about what's really going on, you're just going to have everybody's word against yours, and you're going to look nuts. That's just the way it works.
So let's talk about that, because there are people that you're going to need to go no contact with, but there's a way to do it. Some of these people, and a lot of times you get into those narcissist channels and stuff like that, and everybody is dealing with that. How do you get away from a psycho, right? How do you get away from these crazy people who want to just, gaslight you and control you and, stalk you and ruin your life? And, it's a part of the method where a lot of times they'll even, infiltrate your social circle and just cause havoc for you. And they will pretend like nothing is wrong. They will have that type of ability to act around other people. They will, butter up to everybody else and get everybody else to believe that they are, the great person that they are trying to project. And all the while behind the scenes, they are just, driving you nuts. They are literally, attacking you, gaslighting you, and all these things, but they want everybody else to believe that you are the problem. If they can't get you to believe it, they want everybody else around you to believe it, and they want to use that type of pressure. And you have to get away from somebody. I mean, if somebody is, acting that way, we'll say that you have family members or people that are just, gaslighting you in ways that are crazy. They might as well be attacking you and then turning around and, just claiming, I didn't say that. I never said that. I never did that. And it's only been, we'll just say, maybe 5 or 6 seconds since the incident. You have ridiculous scenarios like that in gang stalking. That's the way it works. You want to limit your time with them. That's for sure. You want to come up with every excuse that you can think of that's at least, sounds legitimate, so you don't have to be around them. But they're not going to get the hint because it's a game for them, right? You might have to, move. You might have to relocate, literally. Or, you have to come up with some other reason. I had to go no contact with people in my family because that's as ridiculous as it got. It's the elephant in the middle of the room. People are attacking you. They're doing all kinds of weird things. And, you can't say anything. And it's just surreal. And that brings up the need for, like a body cam or surveillance equipment, recording phone conversations, all that. You have to, because it's going to be, a gaslighting scenario. They are going to lie. They are going to tell other people that, you're crazy or you're the problem. If you have that evidence, they're not going to be able to do that. Okay, I noticed that when I had a security system in my dwelling, not only did the attacks have to change, the noise campaigns, you got evidence, you got sound, right? You got cameras with audio. Nobody can say that you're making it up. There you are sitting on your couch and you can hear a stereo blaring or, things bouncing off your dwelling or whatever. That's not something that people can say that you're just making up because you've got evidence. People would come over and try to, harass me, and they would see the cameras and stuff like that, inside the dwelling, and it just, they couldn't do anything. They would try to lure me into another location or something. It just totally prevents that. And as far as the phone conversations, is it unethical to? I don't think so. If you're dealing with someone, who is harassing you and gaslighting you and, gang stalking you, and they're just, in your life, you can't get rid of them. It's one of those weird situations or whatever. You need that evidence. You need it for yourself and you need it for other people that they're going to lie to. Okay. Cause like with the police that were getting called over to my dwelling, the first time it happened, there I was, and they're like, okay, why would your concerned family lie about it? Okay, that was almost split. The second time, they were a little more reluctant to believe the accusations that were made for them to be over there. The third time it happened, they finally just looked at me and said, why are these people calling us? Okay, so they didn't even, their credibility had gone down every time the police were called out there. And, with the people that had called saying, oh, he's shooting guns or he's selling drugs, and then, oh, we're worried about him. And then, the fourth time it happened, I don't think they expected anything to be going on at my house. They expected me to answer the door, looking like I'm half awake because they woke me up. And, that's the same thing. When you, have evidence, when people are literally harassing you, and you have it on tape or you have phone recordings and I've even had people say, oh, that's not me in the gaslighting, phone conversations. Oh, that must have been somebody else. No, it wasn't somebody else. Okay, so, you're gonna have to, pin them into a corner like they're trying to pin you into a corner is what I'm getting at. If you're dealing with that type of surreal, kind of harassment where people are just, claiming that you're just, crazy or making things up, you got to have evidence. And you have to try to go no contact with people like that because there's nothing you can do. They're clearly pathological and unrepentant at that point. And if they're not even going to acknowledge simple things like that, what kind of a chance do you have in having any kind of a relationship with them at all that's not, harmful for you? You don't. You got to get away from them. Having protocols where you acknowledge what's going on, but not really, is going to be important because you don't want to get called out. And the other thing is just to remember these people aren't going to get away with it indefinitely. And you have to put them into perspective. They're wrong. Guys, be good to yourselves. Be safe.